Welcome back, guys. Every week I ask a lot of you guys in the audience, who do you want me to have on here? In top five, this guy is always, his name is always at the top. So I'm really, really excited to have him on. I've got the last 2 weeks. So we were originally gonna do this interview a couple weeks ago. So what I did is, since we had to reschedule, I went and tried his diet out over the last couple weeks, and I'm excited to talk to him about it. So right now, today, he is the founder of KinoBody, including the movie star Body Masterclass. He's also the founder of KinoBaddies, which is training for women. He's got 500,000 subscribers, more than 500,000 subscribers on YouTube, where he has incredible videos on workout and diet. And he also has 900,000 followers on Instagram, where you can see more inspirational posts from him. This is Mr. Greg O'Gallagher. Welcome to the program, man. How you doing, man?
I'm doing very well. I'm happy to be here. I'm pumped to be on your podcast, man.
Hey, you know who else is pumped to be on the podcast, bro? This right here, this thing right here that I had never drinking one of these in my life up until the last.
I got mine
weeks.
too,
bro. I'm getting used to it, man. So I want to say, so I've tried this. So let's go ahead and start with the first part here. The thing that I think made you unique, that brought me to you in the first place. Brandon Carter's a friend of mine. I heard about you originally through him and a couple other guys. It was the explanation of fasting. So let's just start with this really quick. So it's different from dieting, and what did you discover, and what is it that makes this KinoBody thing so unique?
Right. So the main premise on fasting is, if you want to get very lean, getting very lean, what is required is you must be in a calorie deficit. That said, this is very hard for people to do. People struggle to lose weight. They struggle to eat less. It is one of the hardest things ever. And for most of the fitness industry, what people were told was you should be eating. Breakfast is the most important meal of the day. You should be eating every few hours. Every few hours you're having a little meal. And this approach does not work, never worked for me, and it does not work for a lot of people. It actually makes it so much harder to get lean and to be in that calorie deficit. And so 12 years ago, I started to kind of do my own research, and I learned about this whole practice of fasting. Instead of eating first thing in the morning, instead of eating every few hours, you actually fast during the day. And this is what humans are really primed to do. If you skip that morning meal, your body actually taps into body fat for energy. You actually have some really cool effects that happen. You get a boost in growth hormone, which actually helps, burn fat and preserve muscle tissue. And best of all, when you do a daily fast, not only do you get crazy productivity, you wake up and you're like motivated, you're like ready to get stuff done. You want to get a bunch of work done, and then you want to enjoy that meal later as a reward. But what's very cool is that when you start fasting every day, it's actually so much easier to be in a calorie deficit. Instead of having to eat small little meals, you can eat a massive epic dinner of like a big serving of a 14-ounce steak, potatoes, and you're getting leaner. And so this is something that I experimented with 12 years ago. And I've tested tons of different styles of dieting and low carb and X, Y, and Z. And this is something I've always stuck with. It just makes getting lean fun. You can eat bigger meals and lean down. And it sounds at first like the idea of skipping breakfast and fasting until 1 p.m. or 2 p.m. At first, it sounds very hard, but once you adapt, it takes, some people just naturally just love it. Other people, it takes a couple of weeks for your, hunger regulating hormones to adapt. But once you adapt, it's actually it feels natural. Like I am meant to not eat, in the morning. Like right now, I'm completely fasted. I feel energized. I feel like productive and focused. Like this is like one of the most productive hacks you can do, is just not eat. Because once you start eating, it kind of slows you down. You're digesting food. And so I actually find it to make getting leaner so much easier, and the benefits are massive.
So from my standpoint, initially when I heard it, I was like, well, I'm not really sure how this would work. And then when I watched your explanation, the first thing about the skipping breakfast, there's several different benefits that I found personally over the last 2 weeks of trying this. The first thing is, you're completely right about you sort of, for me, it's like this bloated feeling whenever I eat breakfast and then I go immediately into work. there's this, I don't know what this crash is. And by the way, the leaner I get, it feels like the harder the crash is. I don't know if this has been the same way for you. I felt like when I was eating junk food all the time, I could eat junk food and then just keep on pushing, you know what I'm saying? And then, but when I, as leaner I got, you know, that look when, you know, you see a boa constrictor eat a rat and it's got that big old gut. Like my gut feels more expanded the leaner I get, if that makes any sense. And then I feel more tired afterwards. When I started doing this podcast fasted. I started doing it at noon. I haven't eaten anything. I'm probably not gonna eat till like 3 or 4. And I definitely feel the focus part, and then also using caffeine to stave off the hunger. That part makes a lot of sense to me. Now here's the other thing. So that to me, anecdotally, that part works for me. The part that I was trying to understand is, so you keep all your calories in an 8-hour period. Just ideally, you would sleep 8 hours, you'd be up for 16, and then there'd be 8 hours. So 4 hours before, maybe 4 hours after your 8-hour period, you don't eat, you fast. Is there something that happens physiologically as far as like glucose or insulin that causes that? Because you mentioned before about your body using body fat when you're fasting in the morning. What is going on physiologically there in those 2 fasting periods before and after you eat?
Yeah. So I've like first kind of order of business, you know, when I first started fasting, I had a very strict, you know, 8-hour eating window. I actually find it way more effective long-term and just to make it more enjoyable, to simply don't worry about the window so much as worry about just pushing that first meal
Got it.
4 to 5 hours in the day. Because, you know, you run a busy life, you're doing social stuff, you're doing business. The idea of always finishing your last meal at the exact same time can be really challenging. So I just simply focus on wake up, crush work for, you know, 4 or 5 hours. And then, you know, I might have a light meal, I'll have a big feast at dinner. And whether I finish my last meal at 10 o'clock or 1 in the morning, it's not that big a deal. The key is just pushing that first meal later in the day. You know, I've tested it.
Keep going. Sorry.
Okay. No, I've tested. I've had my first meal or my last meal, like, you know, right before bed or a few hours before bed. It really doesn't make a difference. The main thing is you really want to make hitting your correct number of calories and protein as easy as possible. So I've had a lot of people that did the very strict 8-hour eating window, and it's very hard to do long term.
It is.
And I just found it like, and then you're rushing home. I got to get home by 9:45 so I can finish my calories at 10 o'clock. It's not necessary. It's like, as long as you push that first meal a bit later, you can finish off your last meal whenever you want. I am someone where I cannot go to sleep if I'm hungry. I like to eat 1 or 2 hours before I go to bed. Like that, like I won't even do 3-4 hours before I go to bed. I like to eat something, then a couple hours later, I'll go to sleep and I'll stay relatively full. But essentially, you know, what is happening is, I mean, like there's a few different things happening. So one of the problems that some people have with eating first thing in the morning is they'll get a spike in blood sugar and they'll eat first thing in the morning. And then when that blood sugar drops, they actually get like cravings. So they eat breakfast at 7, 8 in the morning, and they're thinking about food for the next few hours. At 10 o'clock, they're already thinking about food. And so it's very hard. It can almost, for some people, almost opens the floodgates. You start eating and now all you're doing is thinking about food. And you never tap into that very focused state. You know, I've learned about fasting from quite a few people. Ori Hofmeckler is one, and his big concept was that human beings, you know, evolutionary, we were designed like we were designed to fast and forage and eat light during the day and be in that sympathetic nervous system where basically you're alert, you're focused, you're energetic. And then, you know, we're designed to have those big, larger feasts in the evening, later in the day, and that shifts you into like rest and recovery mode. If you think about any animal in the wild, you know, when they eat a big, you know, maybe they make a kill, they eat like a big feast, they kind of play and then they rest and they go to sleep. The idea that you actually need to eat and fuel yourself before your training is actually fundamentally wrong. You have glycogen levels that you can tap into for training. You have body fat that is an amazing fuel source, especially when you want to be very focused. And, you know, as well, there's another phenomenon. I mean, fat loss is always going to come down to the calorie deficit. You know, but first thing in the morning, your cortisol levels are highest. And when you eat food and you spike insulin with high cortisol, that's like not the best combination. That's a great combination for fat storage. So, I mean, for many different perspectives, it just makes sense to get that first part of the day fasted, train your body to use fat as a fuel source, and then start to replenish your body later in the day. And it sounds counterintuitive if you're used to having to fuel your body for exercise,
right?
But it's actually more effective to take in more calories post-workout when you can actually replenish glycogen and you can train. And you know, some people talk about this super glycogen compensation effect, where when you're training mostly fasted or on low food, you're depleting so much glycogen because you're not using carbs that you just ate for fuel. So you actually can store more glycogen in the muscles as a compensation. Now, if that, like, the extent to which that is true, we don't know. But there is something there. I have been training since I was 13, 14 years old. At 20, I started, like 19, 20, I started to do fasting, and it just made a very strong difference. Like, I enjoy training more. You know, I started to do a little bit of a recomposition, but there's very cool, you know, benefits to fasting. It actually boosts luteinizing hormone, which is a precursor to testosterone. You know, there's some improvement in androgen receptor density, which is like how your body soaks up and utilizes your testosterone levels in the muscle tissue. So there's some very cool, profound benefits to fasting. But if we were going to get down to like the number one reason why someone would fast, it is this. Okay. Let's say you have John is 200 pounds, 210 pounds, and he wants to get down to 190. Okay. So he has to eat at a calorie deficit. He has to eat, you know, 2,300 calories a day. Ultimately, to achieve that goal, and a lot of the health benefits will tend to come from losing body fat and eating in a calorie deficit, as opposed to just, you know, fasting itself. But how do we make those 2,200 calories as enjoyable as possible? Is it to eat 400 calories first thing in the morning, a snack, a really small lunch, a boom, 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 a tiny dinner? Hell no. You know, for most people, it's going to be, we're going to fast till 1 o'clock. I'm going to eat, you know, a decent lunch that's going to satisfy me enough to get me to dinner time at 6, 7, 8 p.m. I'm going to have a nice big feast. And then if I want to have a few hundred calories at 10, 11 o'clock as a snack, for me, I finish off my day of eating with like a Magnum ice cream bar. It's like just under 300 calories. Sometimes I'll literally have 2 of them, and I'll be under my calories, and I'll do that while cutting to 6% body fat. Like, it's pretty damn crazy. So ultimately, you want to find the most enjoyable way to be in a calorie deficit. That's like ultimately what you're solving for. If you want to get someone lean, you're ultimately solving for, how do we make eating a calorie deficit as easy as possible while getting enough protein, strength training to maintain muscle? And that is literally it. Like, if you could solve for that, fat loss is easy. But most of the industry gets way too complicated. They run in 1,000 different directions. They do not understand the basic principle, which is ultimately it's a calorie deficit. And when you control for that, it's fat loss is actually very, very easy. It does take, you know, a little bit of time to really get, you know, the momentum. You know, if you're used to eating a lot, if you're used to eating 3,000, 4,000 calories a day, and now you're cutting on 22, even if you're fasting, it's still going to feel a little tough for the first few days, the first week. And then once you get that momentum, like, one of the most valuable things I'm going to say in this podcast is that if you have 30 pounds to lose, people think, oh man, this is going to be 4 or 5 months of cutting. This will be brutal. It's only really the first couple weeks that are tough. It's the first 2 weeks where you're pushing through a little bit of hunger. It feels a little uncomfortable because you're not used to eating less calories and being accountable for everything you put in your body. And then after those 2 weeks, you get all that momentum and it just feels easy and you're locked in. And so ultimately getting lean, it's just it's tough for the first couple of weeks. You're locked in, and then it's just a smooth ride to your goal body fat. You might hit some plateaus along the way, which can happen when you're trying to get to like below 11, 12% body fat. But then you do, you know, a little bit of refeeds. This is stuff I talk about in my program. You might eat maintenance, go back to the deficit. But again, most of fat loss is just a tough first couple of weeks. You get used to it, you get locked in, and you just ride that wave.
That's incredible, man. So I don't know if you've read the book behind me, Dr. David Buss's Evolutionary Psychology textbook, or any of his books, or Jonathan Lieberman wrote a book called The Story of the Human Body. And they go into the pre-Plasticine Homo sapiens and what their lifestyle would have been like. And it is what you say before. It's a function of, like, they didn't have small meals during the day. They would kill meat and then they would eat it in the afternoon. And so that's another part of this that actually made sense to me, is that you guys tried to base this in human evolution, which would have been like, it would have been more than just, you know, fasting to the afternoon. There would have been tribes of humans that went days without eating, right? So that was another part that the human digestive system would have been made for something like this. So that also makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, I love that book. Dr. David Buss, definitely on point.
Yeah, he's been on the podcast. We're gonna have him on again here pretty soon. He's awesome.
And that's the funny thing about why people freak out about skipping breakfast. It's like this, like for a long, I started talking about fasting right now. Like so many people are fasting. It's like awesome to fast. Yay, it's so good for you. But when I started talking about this and building my approach and marketing myself on YouTube, people were like, there was a lot of backlash. If you told your friends, hey, I'm doing fasting, they're like, that is terrible for you. You can't skip a meal. That's going to crash your metabolism. You're going to, lose muscle. This is bad for your health. And, it's funny because, humans, we were primed to go, a long period without food, let alone just a few hours after you wake up. So, go fasting for 3, 4, 5 hours after you wake up is not that, it's not that extreme. And it gives you a lot of benefits. So, it's been very cool, to see this fasting movement like change. I started talking about fasting, 90% of people are like, no way, this can't be good. And what's crazy is when I said that content, a lot of people were just very happy too. They were like, damn, because people that actually instinctively liked fasting and liked the idea of skipping a meal and made it easy for them, they were so happy to see a voice be like, no, this is actually really good for you. This is actually very, very effective. You should be doing this. And they were like, frick. And a lot of people are on the fence that just kind of were like, you know what, let's try this. Okay. I understand the method of madness. Let's do this. They were like, wow, this is so much easier. So it's been this massive shift towards fasting. But make no mistake, 10, 15 years ago, the whole premise in the fitness space was you must eat every few hours to keep your metabolism running, which was based on false principles.
Right. The other thing we get into, and I thought this was really interesting, is so other people would try diets where they would cut out fat or cut out carbs. Can you talk about macros? And then also, I really enjoyed the part where you talk about low fat will hurt your testosterone, low carbs could hurt your insulin levels. Can you talk about what macros, what are the macros you choose? What percentage of your calories do you get from protein, fat, and carbs?
Yeah. So, the first thing we must understand is that most of the people that have reached a leadership position in the fitness industry are on drugs. They're on testosterone and many other compounds.
We got there quick. Bro, you skipped like half my fucking questions and we're already there. That's beautiful. Keep going. I love that.
Yeah, no, it's just a matter of fact. Like the guys that are the biggest, the most jacked, that pop the most on social media, they're using stuff. And what they can get away with is very different than what a natural can get away with. And so one of the problems, and this is what I actually struggled with when I was younger, was this idea that you have to eat a ton of protein.
Yeah.
Now, if you're cutting, your calories are automatically going to be restricted. So you can't eat as many calories as you want. Okay. If you want to be in a deficit, your calories are going to have to come down a little bit. And in that, and then if you're having to eat a ton of protein, what that means is you don't get enough room for either fats. You have to go very low in fat, you have to go very low in carb, or you have to go decently low in both of them. And I ran into walls doing this. I was like, hey, Mike, I'm in a deficit. I'm eating all this protein. Something does not feel right. I'm not sleeping well. I'm young. Okay. I'm young and my sex drive is not where it should be. And I actually experienced a low sex drive from cutting out, or from my fat and carbs being very low. Even when I kept my carbs low and kept a decent amount of fat in my diet, I was suffering from many different, negative effects. Poor sleep, because you're getting, lower levels of serotonin in the brain. I'd hit a wall during training. And what I started to realize was, yes, fat is absolutely crucial for many different things. It's crucial for testosterone. It's also really important to stay full. If your diet is very low in fat, you're always going to feel sort of empty. You're going to be hungry because fat actually digests slower, and it helps trigger fullness. But crazy enough, again, like 10, 15 years ago, it was eat small meals. It's also like go very, very low in carbs. And there's actually plenty of research that shows that doing a very high protein, low carb diet actually suppresses your testosterone levels by 30%. And it can also be harmful for your free testosterone, because if you go very, very low in carbs, it causes an increase in sex hormone binding globulin, which binds to your testosterone and makes it bound. And so you have lower free testosterone. So there is some people, I'll be honest, that can function well on low carbs. It might work for them, but a lot of people just do better in the middle ground. Not super high carbs, not super low carbs, but sort of that moderate approach. And the fitness industry is frustrating because everyone likes to live in these extremes. Either carbs are amazing for you or they're terrible for you. Okay. If you're, in a calorie deficit and you're cutting and you're training hard, you're lifting, you want to have some carbs in your diet. It's going to replenish muscle glycogen. It's going to be helpful for putting your body in an anabolic state. And again, it's going to be helpful for, one of the key hormones that's imperative for staying lean, being lean, is leptin. And as you cut out carbs and keep carbs very low, leptin levels will also come down, which will increase hunger and actually affect your metabolism, the amount of energy you have to move around and burn calories. So I've always found, having a moderate amount of carbs in the diet is better than going low carb. And so I gravitate towards the optimal amount of protein, which is a little bit under a gram per pound of body weight. It's about 0.82 grams per pound of body weight. Hit that optimal amount of protein. Do not push it higher, and keep a balance of fats and carbs. And this is the most effective for your hormonal system. And it's also the most enjoyable. Like, just going to dinner, and having to eat, like, just having a low fat meal is not fun. Okay. Fat actually makes food taste very good. So if you're just going to dinner, eating bland chicken breast, a potato or rice and no butter, just this bland meal, it's going to be very hard to be full. I've tried that. And I would actually be starving even if I ate my calorie maintenance. I'd be like, I have no fat. My body was like, I need food. As well, if you just eat lots of fat and protein and no carbs, you miss that feeling of satisfaction. You kind of feel like you feel full, but you still have cravings. Like, it's like this desire hasn't been fulfilled. And you don't really get fully relaxed because the carbs help release serotonin. They make you feel happy and good. And so I test drove this stuff like massively in my, late teens, early 20s. And I kind of ran into issues, and then I just kind of did my own research and realized, okay, yeah, you know what? We are meant to eat a balance of macronutrients. There's a reason why we have protein, fats, and carbs out there. We need them all. Yes, you can get away with zero carbs in your diet, and your body will, be able to create ketones and all that. But I'm a big believer that is definitely not optimal. Having that balance. You don't need to be eating half of your calories from carbs, but having that moderate amount of carbs in your diet, especially very satiating carbs like potatoes, are amazing. So that person that's like, oh, if I eat a lot of carbs, I gain weight, it's totally not true. If you're in a calorie deficit and you eat very filling, satiating carbs, maybe some apples and raspberries and potatoes and sweet potatoes, and you eat a balance of, you balance of fat, you get enough protein in, and you're training, lifting, you will get a much better physique doing that than just trying to cut carbs down to freaking zero. And it'll be way easier to sustain that low body fat and keep a higher metabolism for years and years and years, doing the moderate approach than cutting carbs down to near zero or 50 grams.
Hey, Greg, so going back to what you said before, because I was watching, I was trying to understand how you're able to like go 4, 5, 6 hours sometimes before you eat. You talked about the Pellegrino, so you talked about the mineral water, you talked about using caffeine to suppress some appetite, and then you also talked about having a small first meal. Sometimes you just eat a piece of fruit. Can you tell me how those mechanisms work?
Yeah, so sparkling water was something I learned from a client years and years ago. I had him do fasting. He was like, hey, like, just want to let you know, like, I've been drinking Perrier and it helps a ton during my fast. And you got your San Pellegrino there. And so, yeah, the carbonated water helps keep your stomach full. So it actually makes it easier to fast. And if you drink some carbonated water before you have a dinner, you get full more easily. So that's the one hack. Black coffee does a very good job at blunting appetite and, increasing energy. So black coffee can be very effective. I like to wait about at least, an hour after I wake up before drinking black coffee. It will suppress your appetite better than if you drink it right away. Because you get that initial spike in cortisol when you wake up. When the cortisol levels start to come down a little bit, that's when you want to drink coffee. It will give you a much longer flow of energy and appetite suppression. As well, the small meals. When I first started doing fasting, I'd eat like a big first meal, and I would definitely find that would open up the floodgates, and I'd be thinking about food a lot more.
Yeah.
So I realized it was much more effective, to like save that big feast for dinner time, and then just eat enough to like satisfy me a little bit and stave off hunger. So, I used to keep it extremely strict and just do like a couple pieces of fruit. Now I'll eat like 500 calories, maybe max, 600 calories max, and then have a big feast. I like that a little bit more. But yeah, I might have like right now I've been doing our Kino collagen protein mixed with Greek yogurt, some sliced bananas and stuff like that in the afternoon. And, the goal there is get a little protein in, get some calories in, and just keep yourself like satisfied at least until dinner. You're not trying to fill yourself up. Now, this strategy works very well for guys that are really focusing on getting leaner. If you're trying to eat more calories, put on muscle, you can eat a bigger first meal. But that is like what I found made it the easiest to lean down and get to a low body fat.
You have a video, a day in the life of macros, and then that's where you show a lot of this stuff that you do. And I thought it was really interesting. We got to see a day in your life. One of the things that you did this is a question I have gotten several times, okay, because I get asked what I eat all the time, because you went to Chipotle. And I will tell you, as a business person, there are days, bro, I wake up and I want to stay in my apartment and I want to work for 16 hours and I want no one to bother me. I want my shit delivered. My gym is 45 seconds away in the same building that I'm in. And so I'm going to have them just deliver Chipotle. And that's all I'm going to eat for the whole day. I just, out of curiosity, if you had to do a whole day, because you had a triple steak, double chicken Chipotle that you ate there, if you were going to make your whole, like three bowls for your whole day, let's just say you were stuck on some island, that's the only place you had to eat, what would you put on your Chipotle bowl?
Yeah, I like loading up on the steak. So I'd go triple steak. I do, some rice, black beans, fajita veggies, lots of cheese, guacamole, and that thing will just satisfy you like nothing else. The only thing you have to be careful of with places like Chipotle is if you're tracking their calories. Some people will give you like this scoop of like on their nutrition facts, it's like 130 calories of rice. When they actually scoop it for you, they're giving you like 300 plus calories of rice. So that's the only thing you have to be careful of. When I was like super, super diligent, I would actually I'd order without rice, and I'd add like an extra 300 calories of like my own thing that I would track completely.
Yeah.
And that was just to like leave nothing up for failure. So a lot of people will say, I'm eating a calorie deficit, but I'm not losing weight. And if you, every single time, they're actually not tracking their calories correctly, or they're eating more than they think.
So you would do 3 triple meat Chipotles during the day, or you would just do one at the end? Or like how would you do if you had to get everything from there? What would you do? Would you split it up?
Well, I eat 3 times a day. I'll do a smaller meal in the afternoon, a big feast, and something light at night. So I'll just do 1 Chipotle bowl, but I'll order like 3 servings of steak, like 3, like triple steak.
Yeah.
You have to pay extra for that, but if you're only eating like 1 big meal a day, it's not that bad.
Got it. Also, I noticed you is the same thing. Charlie Munger talks about this, or not Charlie, Carl Icahn talks about this. You mentioned this. I heard Ty Lopez talk about this. This idea that you have to be up at 4 o'clock in the morning in order to work out. You do wake up late. You mentioned this before. I do too. Because I live here in Las Vegas. I get most of my work done between midnight and 5 a.m. I go to the gym at midnight. And so for a lot of people, that's like crazy. But guess what? I don't have to wait for anything at the gym because it's completely open. I'm complete silence, total meditation, no bothering me whatsoever. Do you do that also? Do you not adhere to like a 0 dark 30 schedule?
Yeah, I wake up late. I wake up at 11 a.m., 12 a.m., 11, 12. And I eat late at night. I'll eat at 1 in the morning, and I'll go to sleep at like early and 2 a.m., sometimes 3:30 a.m. So I do that. I like it just works so much better for my lifestyle. And I know I've heard like an evolutionary explanation for this, why some people just do their best work late at night. And it makes sense, in tribal days, if everyone was asleep at 10 p.m. and waking up at, 7 a.m., well, your tribe is exposed to threats for several hours.
Right.
So you need a small subset of the tribe that's awake till 3 a.m. And so I am probably one of those, you and me are probably some of those subset people that just always naturally gravitate towards being up later. We do not do our best work early in the morning. We freaking hate the morning.
I cannot stand shit. Yes, I completely agree with you.
Wake up in the morning, like, it is like I will miss flights and pay an extra $1,000 just going. I'm not getting out of bed.
Yeah.
Like I can't. Like the morning, I cannot do it.
For sure. Yeah, I flew special ops in the Air Force, and our missions would always start around 10 p.m. and we'd go to bed around 8 or 9 a.m. Generally, that's how it worked. And so when I got out of the military and I moved to Las Vegas, it was just like a nighttime schedule was just so much easier for me because what would happen is I'd have friends that would come out and they'd be like, all right, let's go see Tiesto. Well, Tiesto, for those of you who don't know, I get this question all the time. If you come to Las Vegas, the DJ comes on at 1 a.m. I know for some people that blows their mind, but it's always 1. It'll never be anything other than 1. They're not going to change it for you just because you want to go to bed early. The DJ comes on at 1. He gets off at 3 a.m. Always, every club, without exception, that's the way it works. And so when my friends come in town, they're like, hey, I want to go see, Calvin Harris, Tiesto. I want to go see Steve Aoki or whatever. I'm like, okay, I will go. 1, leave, around 3 or 2 something. I'll get home and I'm going to bed at 5. It doesn't screw up my schedule. Whereas if I was, getting up at 9 a.m. and going to bed at like 10 and then somebody comes in, I'm just fucked the whole next day. I don't ever have to worry about it. And I don't drink. So it's like a perfect schedule. In fact, I get to the gym at 11:30. I'm done 12:30 and then go to the club afterwards and it just fits into my schedule perfectly. So for a lot of people, you're right. They feel like they have to get up at 2:45 in the morning. And I'm like, man, I'm up at 2:45 in the morning. I'm still awake. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, I really appreciate that. Also, the thing, I'm going to skip ahead to something because I thought it was really interesting. Probably the most interesting video I saw was the one of you and Greg Doucette together. So this is something that I've had to deal with recently is because I do have a lot of opinions on different things, everything from Ukraine to human evolution to whatever. I have a lot of different guests that come on here. I have flat earthers that still attack me to this day because I did a debate against them. And all kinds of stuff. And then I see Greg Doucette, and he was coming at your neck in that first video. Like, he was saying things that were like a little bit like more than just professional. And then you guys worked it out and did a video together. Can you first talk about that whole Greg Doucette, his initial criticism, and then how you guys kind of came to see each other eye to eye, and then finally, collaborating?
Yeah. So I do not remember, all the points that he was making in his initial criticism. A lot of this like internet beef drama, like I think some of these guys just do it for attention. Sorry, am I coming through right now?
Yeah, you are. I think all of them do it for attention. I think 100% of them do it for attention.
Yeah, they all do it for attention. So I had some like video that was getting a ton of views, and these guys are like, some of these, like, I post on YouTube like very infrequently. It's something I do more casually. I'm starting to do more like shorts and stuff, but I post very infrequently. But for the guys that are posting like all the freaking time, they're looking for content, they're looking for views. And so I think like some of his criticism on that day of eating was basically that this idea of fasting and eating a light meal first and a big feast is like the mass majority of people cannot do that. And I think like, and also I think he didn't really understand really the framework and the mindset that went behind how I structure the nutrition and training. And so in the end, we agree on the same main points, that you must be in a calorie deficit to get leaner. It's about, putting yourself in a calorie deficit. It's about making that as enjoyable as possible for you. You want to be training, tracking your lifts, getting stronger, getting progressive overload. We just have 2 completely different ways of doing it. So for those people that like to eat so I think we both kind of like, he kind of misconstrued my approach. And again, like, at the end of the day, like, you're going to get way more attention from calling someone out and being negative than be like, than being positive. So, I just like to focus on doing my stuff, helping people get in amazing shape. And so, we kind of like cross paths a little bit. And then, I think, it was more, that was more for attention, because like when we got together in person, he was like, yeah, fuck. He was like, cause he would kind of critique this little workout I did when I was injured. I was doing some light leg training, saying, you know, oh, this guy doesn't even train properly. Had a knee injury. I was kind of doing some light stuff. And then in person, he was like, fucking your strength is out of this world. You know, it's funny that, like, you know, I get a lot of hate, but he was like one of the guys that was like, Gregor Gallagher is definitely natural. So even though he's talking shit, he was like, Gregor Gallagher is natural. And in person, he was like, he knew exactly how strong I was. Like, he knew, you know, I was repping 315, or like, he knew all the qualities. It's just more compelling to talk a little bit of smack. And maybe in that moment, he was being 100% honest. And then maybe he did a little bit more, saw a little bit more content. It's easy to find stuff to grab at if you're watching one little video where it's not, you know, you can't be completely nuanced. But if you go through everything, you see how the method of the madness works. And even in my own content and marketing, I will tell people, like, do not listen to me. Like, do not listen to my voice as the voice of God. Put it to the test.
Yeah.
All of this stuff should make it more enjoyable to eat a calorie deficit. If this helps you do it, you know?
Yeah, that's crazy. You know, the thing I really enjoyed about it, again, was like, I think the first time he got a bunch of views, so he did another one. I just see a lot of people, like, I don't know, that Canadian dude, Phylon, or whatever his name is. There's these dudes that, like, all they do is, like, I don't know how you run a business off hating other people. Like, I really don't know how do I then sell merchandise or coaching or whatever if my entire process is based on, and I'm not saying Greg did this, but I'm saying other people have done this, where it's like their entire profile is nothing but hate. Greg is obviously an accomplished bodybuilder. He has a lot of great things to say. He was just one of these things where I think the first video did so well that he just kept doing more and more, and then he meets you in person. And I've had the same experience where people just say completely crazy, out of pocket shit to me on social media that they would never say. Now, like, listen, I'm not a violent man anymore. Like, I'm 6'1", 230. But there's no fucking way these guys would say this to my face. And they're just like, typing about, talking about, like, dude, I disagree with you about the vaccine, so you talk about my mom. Like, it was crazy, some of the stuff they say. Then they see me in person. They're so fucking nice to me in person. So I thought that was really interesting. I love Greg's videos. I would recommend everybody watch that video between the two of you, because I thought there was a lot of great stuff. One of the things that I thought was terrific, there was this hammering on artificial sweetener, sucralose and aspartame, where it was just basically because there was this one experiment that happened where there was they had a rat and they gave it they gave some mice a bunch of sucralose, and the mice ended up developing brain tumors. Therefore, everyone who drinks Diet Coke will 100% get brain tumors. It was just this crazy, like, overreaction to it. And then you find out that, you know, Elon Musk drinks like 2 6-packs of Diet Coke a day, and then Warren Buffett drinks a bunch of cherry Coke with artificial sweetener in it. And these people, their brains melt because they can't possibly understand how this works. You guys went off on this on your little Q&A, which I thought was interesting, is that, like, artificial sweeteners, they help you if they cause you to consume fewer calories.
Yeah. Yeah. You still have me here, right?
Yep, sure, got you, brother.
I'm coming through, right?
Yep.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So the idea that having sucralose or aspartame is going to, you know, stop you from losing fat is wrong. Yeah, there's a big, you know, push. There's two big sides of the road kind of people that are like, yes, it's completely fine for you, and other people are kind of like, it's gonna kill your health. It's terrible for you. I'm a bit more in the middle ground where, you know, I think having a little bit of, you know, sucralose, artificial sweetener probably not going to do much. There seems to be some implication with your gut health and your microbiome having high amounts of artificial sweeteners. That's definitely the one thing that I would look at. And I would not recommend, if someone's going to do my approach and do my program, I would not recommend, you know, take the fast seriously. Do sparkling water, do coffee. Yeah. Would not recommend drinking like diet sodas during the fast. It kind of breaks the real, like, process of the fast. But, you know, if you're having a protein bar that has a bit of sucralose in it, it's not really a big deal. But again, like, a lot of this stuff comes down to moderation. You know, I tend to just, you know, don't go crazy on artificial sweeteners, but I'm not scared of them.
Beautiful. You also talk about weight training 3 times a day, which is also a different, 3 times a week, which is a different strategy than a lot of people have. And also, you've been doing your heaviest set first. This is something I've tried recently, because I build up to my heaviest set. Recently, in the last 2 weeks since we've been having this discussion, I've been trying what you said, to try to go heavier first. in each one of these sets. Can you talk about that? Why is it 3 times a week? And then why is it that you do heaviest set first?
All right. You've gone really in depth in all my content. I'm excited to see that. So I like training 3 days per week, simply for a couple reasons. One, if you work out Monday, Wednesday, Friday with a day of rest in between, you just have amazing recovery. And it's not just your muscles that are recovered. You know, if you do maybe legs on Monday, obviously your upper body is going to be fresh the next day, but it's also that neural recovery. Your central nervous system, which is your brain and spinal cord that send nerve impulses into your muscle to activate muscle fibers, your nervous system can be fatigued. So if you do super heavy squats or deadlifts on Monday, and then you're going to go do a bench on Tuesday, your central nervous system will be fatigued to some extent. So I actually experimented with this, and I actually found I made more personal records, felt more recovered, hitting the gym 3 days per week. And if you are very intelligent with your program design, you can get everything you need in 3 workouts a week. You can hit everything you need perfectly in 3 workouts a week. I believe in being minimalist. I think that the idea you have to do so many different exercises per muscle group and hit all these different angles is completely wrong. If you get strong on the key lifts, you will build muscle perfectly. And it's a lot easier to add weight, to add reps, if you're doing like a very simplistic, honed in program than if you're doing every exercise under the sun. It's impossible to improve if you're doing 5 exercises for chest and this and that. It's so much harder. There's some very cool research that even shows that, like, for a lot of people, you can actually make some people make better gains on like very low volume, a couple sets on one exercise. So I've tested this stuff to the end of higher volume to lower volume, and I've looked at my physique and tracked it, and bar none, I get my sharpest and my strongest when the volume is actually very low, like very low. 3 workouts a week, 4 exercises per workout, 2 or 3 hard sets, completely tracked, pushing for personal records. And when I deviate from that and start doing more, and sometimes I will do more, I actually have in some of my programs, I'll have a higher volume approach that can be fun to do, but it's always that lower volume where I see my craziest gains. And the reason you're doing the heaviest set first is because that's when you're the most fresh. If you are trying to bench 225 and you do, 15 reps of 135, and then you rep out 155, 175, and then 200, you are going to be so much weaker than if you just did a few light, low rep warm-up sets just to get your body ready, and then rep 225. And so you are in the best state to produce, build, and elicit strength and muscle when you're fresh. When you're fatigued, it's actually harder to create that strong strength and muscle building response. And so you want to do your most important sets, which are your heaviest sets, while you're fresh, and then you can drop the weight and get more reps in, and that's fine. Like, you can do those lighter, higher rep sets after the heavy set. It actually works much better doing it after than doing it when you're fresh. So people train backwards, and it's okay, if you're just kind of getting in the feel of things and you're building yourself up. It's okay for the first couple months to start light, get reps in, build yourself up. But then when you really want to build strength and muscle, you want to just do a couple smooth warm-up sets for 5 reps, and then do that heavy set while you're fresh, and then a couple lighter sets. And it's unbelievably powerful. Different training methods, and reverse pyramid training is something that I've never been able to find anything that is more effective.
Got it. You also talk about your body's ability to produce natural growth hormone. Can you talk about that? I mean, we talked about, is there a technique for that? Is there a training period or a muscle group or something like that? What you mentioned several times about growth hormone.
Right. So, I mean, one of the best ways to improve growth hormone is going to just simply be fasting. When you're fasting, your body actually boosts growth hormone a lot. Some research shows like 2,000% in men, although a lot of that increase in growth hormone is around that 18-hour plus mark of fasting, but you're still getting a very nice boost throughout the morning to afternoon. As well, saunas are very effective at increasing growth hormone. And then, if you're doing, intense training, you're going to get a boost in testosterone and growth hormone. But worry too much about like trying to do the exact amount of training that's going to get the best hormonal response. I focus on, you know, I like that kind of fault. Like that is sort of a byproduct. I focus the training on just basically what is going to produce strength the most, like what's going to be most effective for increasing strength throughout, you know, a different rep range, 5 to 10 reps, and sort of everything falls into place.
Beautiful. Okay. And then the other one I thought that was really interesting. I'd never heard anybody say this before, but you talked about the 3 physique types. So one of the things, and I talked to Nick Cosman about that. He was the first one to bring this up to me, was the idea that you were actually training for a Hollywood actor's, like an action star's body type. And you use Brad Pitt in Fight Club, Brad Pitt in Troy. Right, and you use different Starfall with Roger Craig, Dave Craig. I forgot what the actor's name was. You go over that, and can you talk about these different body types, and then what it is that you need to do exercise-wise to achieve these physiques?
Yeah, so this is something I coined years ago when, you know, helping people get into movie star shape, and some people wanted to look like Brad Pitt in Fight Club. Other people wanted to, like, you know, get a bit of a bigger physique. And I coined the different levels, which is like the first level and more of this on the slimmer end is going to be that warrior physique. You do not have to be massive. You know, Brad Pitt in Fight Club was, you know, he's around 5'11", and, you know, he was not 180 pounds. He was probably around 155, 160, which is very, very lean. You know, if you look at also Christian Bale in American Psycho, who had an insane body, you know, he's like 6 foot. He's probably 175 max. So that's sort of the, you know, the warrior physique where you're very lean. You have awesome muscle tone, good proportion, but in a t-shirt, you're not really standing out like crazy. Okay. And so like that warrior, like some people that warrior physique really suits them very well, you know, especially guys that have more of a male model face, that, you know, don't want to get too big, that like to stay lean. That's sort of that warrior look. And that's, you know, pretty achievable. Like anyone within like a year of training can really achieve that required a level of muscle mass. If you're lifting heavy for a year, you'll be able to put on that amount of muscle. Get into that next step, just like Greek god look, you know, Daniel Craig and, you know, Casino Royale, he had, you know, a decent amount of muscle. You know, that might take a couple of years of training you might have to get your lifts up higher. And so that is going to require more, you know, a longer amount of strength training. You're going to have to, you know, go through a period where you're eating a bit more to put on muscle. And that's that Greek god look, which I find is like really that perfect balance. So someone that's 5'10" might be like 175, 180 max, and lean. So it's like that. You're putting on like an extra, you know, 8 pounds of muscle for that next step. And then the final stage, which is where you see guys like, you know, Chris Evans and Captain America. Yeah. You see, you know, I mean, Chris Hemsworth, his physique has gotten, you know, off the charts insane. But you see like Henry Cavill and Man of Steel, where it's just that like highest level. And that is something that is going to take years and years to achieve naturally. A decade of training. You have to go crazy, you know. And you're going to have to hit like the highest level of like strength, like 100-pound dumbbell shoulder presses for 8 reps. And so that physique is very hard to achieve. A lot of people just like, you know, people can hit the warrior level for sure. A lot of people can get to that Greek god level, but that superhero is like really like that top 5%. But again, you do not have to get there. Like I created and was so passionate about KinoBody because it's like, if you just get lean and chisel with a decent amount of muscle, like doors swing wide open. You know, when I used to test this stuff, even, you know, on Tinder and Hinge, I would actually get the hottest girls in the most matches when I was actually on the leaner side. Yeah. You know, with that sweet, like beach pool photo, a little bit leaner, because it's easier to have really, really good sharpness and definition when you weigh less. Like it's hard to be, like the hard thing to do as a natural is to have a lot of muscle and be very lean. Yeah. It's easier to be lean if, it's easier to get to a lower body fat if you're not trying to keep your weight up so high. So, you know, my kind of like thing for most guys is that most guys think they have to get a lot bigger than they need to. And, you know, if you just focus on lifting heavy, stripping off fat, getting to a low body fat, you kind of end up with that perfect, physique. That's kind of like, that's why I've also like kind of, in this whole fitness bodybuilding space, I've been able to market myself so well because I've been like, look, you do not want to look like the guy on steroids. You do not have to get to that crazy weight and, eat tons and spend, months and months and years bulking up. You simply just need to train really heavy, get strong, lean down to a low body fat, and you will look insane. And you can do that naturally. And so, that's also why I've been able to like pretty much crush the whole fitness industry, because I set the terms on what people want. And it's like literally building that movie star body, which is what I teach.
There was a college survey that talks about one of the things you said, where they showed a group of men, the physique that they liked most in women. And then they showed a group, then they asked themselves, they were like, which physique do you think is most attractive that women find in men? And what they found was, for men would choose the physique closer to Schwarzenegger, like the 10 physique as far as mass, and women chose the David Beckham physique, which was more like a 6, right? But very, very lean as far as like how big they were. And women were the opposite. Women expected men to be attracted to the twiggy, incredibly thin, emaciated look. And then men were picking something way more fit. That's what men preferred. So women generally, this is Dr. David Buss who talks about this, women generally perceive that men want them to be skinnier than they actually do, and men misperceive that women actually want men to be bigger and more muscular. Derek from More Plates, More Dates, he goes into this specifically. I forgot if it was the Bilzerian interview or the one with Joe Rogan, where he talks about for years he's open about taking gear and how big he would get, and how his shoulders were just massive. And he thought that was going to be the thing to like be attractive to all women. And I see it here. Like, I'll just let you know, dude, I live in Las Vegas. Like the fucking cashier at Walmart takes steroids. Everyone here is on steroids. Everyone here is on steroids. Like every dude you see that's like working at the freaking at the nightclubs, whatever, all of them taking Anavar, clenbuterol, whatever. And so I'm used to it. By the way, that was the other thing, is when somebody said that you were on steroids, but you were weighing 165 pounds. I'm like, no, that was very clear to me that was ridiculous. Even Greg Doucette pointed that out. It's like, I've seen guys here, they take roids and like, you are big as shit fast. You're not weighing 165. that's not what's happening. So I thought that part was really interesting. I do want to go to the thing you did with More Plates, More Dates. So you have had an issue. The steroid accusation did make you pretty angry in the beginning. I could totally understand why that would be an issue for you. You had Derek from More Plates, More Dates go over your blood work. And when he did so, it was really funny because the way it was positioned, it was like, oh, we're going to catch KinoBody. And then when you watch it, he does not. He comes to the same conclusion that Greg Doucette did, which is that you weren't taking steroids. And I thought it was a really, really cool, very informative podcast that you guys did together. Can you talk about that whole situation? Because your situation with him, where you guys were talking with each other, I thought it was really interesting when you talked about testosterone. You talk about testosterone making effort feel better. He talked about he had a buddy with a 1,700 natural free testosterone, and how this guy was always like taking over a room. Can you talk about that a little bit, about how you still need that testosterone production in order to, even without steroids, you need that testosterone production in order to build muscle? Because here's one of the things that happened for me, because I am on TRT. I'm pretty open about it. When I got to be about 40, I'm almost 45, arms would get bigger, but gut would get bigger also. And then when I would diet, gut would get smaller, but arms would get smaller also. Then when I got on TRT, arms would get bigger and gut would get smaller. And that was the first time that I ever saw that. Can you talk a little bit about that whole dichotomy?
Yeah. Okay. So I guess, the first thing was that, like, when I was younger and I was getting those accusations, it definitely pissed me off. Just because, like, if you're working hard, you accomplish something natural, like you do want that validation. And when people are just like outright like calling you liar, accusing, it kind of sucks. But now to me, it's fun. It's like, it's a compliment. Like, if someone thinks I'm using gear and I built it naturally, it's a big compliment. It's actually worse if I never get accusations. That means that my physique isn't really that good. So actually, I'm like fucking embrace it. I'm like, yeah, these guys think I'm freaking, these guys all think I'm on drugs. Look at me, look at my transformation, look at my blood work. The proof is there. And again, some people will always, no matter how much evidence or proof you show them, they will always, they will always like call you a liar and not believe you. And again, the worst thing to do is give those people attention. I shut them out, I focus on just getting people ripped. Here's the proof, but Yeah, testosterone levels are definitely, can definitely play a big role in your physique. That said, it's really like there's a lot of factors that go into genetics and your ability to gain muscle. So if you're someone whose total testosterone is 600 or 700, it's not going to make a huge difference.
Yeah.
It's not like at 600, or if you get to 700 now, you can build muscle way easier. That said, if you're someone that has low testosterone, and you're around 300, it is going to be a very big uphill battle. And so, so in some ways you can improve things naturally, especially if you have a lot of things going against you. Obviously, in some cases taking TRT can make sense, especially for males that are, over 40 and stuff like that. But testosterone is like an anabolic hormone. It's going to help with muscle building, and it's also going to help at being able to maintain muscle as you strip off fat. So there's a few different things at play. As far as your physique is concerned, there's also your androgen receptor density, which plays a huge role. So you can have guys that go on gear that can't build muscle as well as guys that are natural.
Yeah.
Which you sometimes, I've seen it. Like I knew a guy on YouTube that was trying to do fitness stuff. And, he told me, like, he hung out with some big YouTuber. He went on stuff, and like no one ever accused him of using. And he was doing like an intense stack. And like, I was seeing it. I'm like, fuck, that sucks, man. Like, but so androgen receptor density is also like going to play, a big role. But, like, the real power of testosterone, like, here's the thing. Like, when I was even a teenager, you're going through puberty, I couldn't not hit the gym. Like, I had to do something. Right. I had to do push-ups. I wanted to work out. I came from school. I want to freaking like lift some weights. And so like, it begs the question, like, what causes some people at that earlier age to want to play sports, to want to lift weights, to want to get big and strong? Obviously there's a big psychological element, but there's also a strong physiological element. What makes people love training and other people like kind of shy away from it, and it also goes into competitivity. If you have healthy levels of testosterone, as a man, you want to compete. Yeah. You are hyper competitive. You want to compete. And if your levels are freaking low, you get intimidated by competition. And that is a huge, huge detriment. So, I think every man, absolutely, even if you're in your mid, late 20s, early 30s, find out what your level is now. Yes. And, the reason is because if maybe your levels are perfect and you're fine, and, for most people, they probably are in a good place. If you are lifting heavy, eating well, getting sunlight, resting up, X, Y, and Z, getting the right nutrients in, and you have a healthy, your sex life is healthy and all that, your levels are probably pretty awesome. But if, years from now, you're having some issues, it's good to be like, hey, so when I was 28, I was around 650, and now, something's off, and now my levels are down, 200 points. And, and again, it's like a lot of issues can happen to people if their level, like if their baseline is 650 and they have a big drop, that can cause like issues compared to someone that just always function well on that, that lower level. So it's good to get your levels checked. I got my levels checked first when I was 22 years old. I got them checked, like, pretty much, sometimes for videos and stuff like that, but I got them checked several times. And, I've always sort of been in that mid 600 range. Okay. Got it. My recent test that I did it, it was actually kind of interesting because I was in Miami, and I had just a weekend of just extremely low sleep. And I was like, let's see what's going to happen here. And obviously I knew my test levels would be lower, and they dropped about 100 points, simply from having bad sleep. And so for anyone listening, like the best thing to, the big steps you can take first is, one, excess body fat you know, your waistline is inversely correlated with testosterone.
Mm.
So, you know, so if you have 20, 30 pounds of fat to lose, the easiest way to improve your testosterone levels is to get rid of that excess fat. Then, you know, proper sleep, lifting heavy. You know, I believe like you need to give your body a reason, you know, to have healthy testosterone levels. So if you're just on the couch all day, working, overstressed, not sleeping, not pushing your body, like pushing your body is one of the most important things. And so, yeah, sleep, proper exercise, proper nutrition, getting to a leaner state. And if your calories are very low, your testosterone levels will drop dramatically. So, you know, once you get lean, you want to make sure you're eating enough calories, maintaining your weight, X, Y, and Z. But the interesting thing was that, you know, even for me, was that even when I did that hormone test, where my levels were 100 points lower, because I got my free testosterone checked. My free testosterone was, you know, at the high range for natural. So it's like 21.97. And so if you're in the low 20s, like your free testosterone is in a very good place. I think I'd probably be mid 20s if I had because my total testosterone dropped about 20%. So I probably would have been mid 20s if I did it with perfect conditions. And I did a test. My test I did was like 1 p.m. Your total testosterone actually drops quite dramatically from, you know, 9 in the morning till afternoon. You're always highest first thing in the morning, but yeah, so testosterone is, you know, very, very important. I mean, and, you know, if you're someone that's done all the correct steps and you know, you're doing everything right and your just levels are stuck and they're 300 or whatever, then it might make sense to do TRT. I'm not against like TRT, like if done correctly, if done safely, if done with a doctor. I think that can be good. Like, yeah, it can improve the quality of life if, you know, your levels are, you know, if you have some issue. You know, I know a guy close to me that he was an athlete and his coach got his, like, these teenagers to all go on testosterone. And some of these guys, their testosterone levels will never come back to normal, ever. And so he has to do TRT. And I was the one, I'm like, dude, man, if your levels are crushed like that, there's nothing wrong with doing that, you know? And so he, you know, he feels a lot better, made a big difference. But if you're someone whose levels are healthy and then you want to go on a bunch of compounds to try and get extra jacked, I think that the benefits are far outweighed by the costs of doing that.
So I have a friend of mine. He's one of my clients. He's a medical professional. And he's not even 35 years old. He goes to a urologist, and the urologist tells him that his free test is 260. And he goes, okay, cool. Then let's get me on testosterone. And the guy's like, oh, no, you don't need it. And so, of course, if he goes to a male... just one thing real quick is just like, yeah. So I think like, with free testosterone, there's different like medical unit terms. So I think like, so I think when I said 21.97, that would have converted probably to a different amount. Yeah.
That's 200, that'd be 200, you know, 210 or whatever.
Here, most of the time when we refer to it, it's picograms per deciliter. Don't quote me on that. I think that's the way it works. Something like that. But the main thing is the normal range in this scenario would be like somewhere between like 350 and 800. And this guy was at 260 and he's not even 35 years old. When you go to a urologist, this is something I want everyone who watches this, if you go get your TRT check, your testosterone levels checked. If you go to a urologist is going to see you at 200 and be like, yeah, you're fine. You're no problem. And you're like, hey, sir, what if I want to go fuck my wife? Yeah, it's not a big deal. Your prostate's fine. So what if I want to like lead a business and not commit suicide when I'm 50 and then have sex with my wife every once in a while? Not a big deal. You know, you're fine. You're fine. If you go to a rejuvenation clinic where they specialize in just this one thing, this hormone, when you get below 300, they're going to put you on TRT. Like if you were at 260, they're not even going to ask questions. They're just going to put you on TRT. So that's one of the things that I think is interesting. The other thing is like people are like, well, I have to stay on this for the rest of my life. Yeah, or you could stay at 260 for the rest of your life. So to me, that would be a worthwhile trade-off. The other thing is this guy gets on TRT. He goes, immediately I lost 20 pounds. 20 pounds of fat just came right off as soon as I started taking TRT. And I was like, yeah, that's really important. Here's the other thing that happens. I don't know if you have any experience with this or whatever, but I know you've discussed this. When guys have a lot of body fat, this is a lot of people think that there's a gland that's shooting out estrogen and another one that's doing testosterone. No, testosterone's coming out. It's going into your body fat. it's getting aromatized and turned into estrogen. That's what's happening. And a lot of people don't realize so if you gave me 170 milligrams of testosterone per week, and my free test was 800, and then you have 100 pounds of body fat, and I gave you the same 170 milligrams, your testosterone levels are going to be way lower than mine because your body fat is turning the testosterone into estrogen. So those of you who are watching this, who are carrying around a bunch of fat, you are double fucked when it comes to this, because not only are you carrying around this fat that is actually, very deleterious for your health as far as your cardiovascular or your health, whatever, all kinds of stuff, your joints, multiple different problems that you have. In addition to that, your body is producing extra estrogen for you and less testosterone. So that's another thing. You talked about that before. Is like, I think once you get above 14%, it starts to aromatize or something like that. Can you talk a little bit about that whole part, about the importance of being able to keep your weight down?
Yeah. Like 15% plus body fat, that extra fat is gonna, absolutely produce estrogen. It's going to lower your free testosterone, and it's going to be a big detriment. That's why, your waistline is inversely correlated with testosterone levels. So that's like the most important thing. Any excess fat that you're holding is going to work against you. And that's also why, like, once you get below 15% body fat, once you get to like 12, 13, 14, like, it's a lot easier, It's easier to train, to build muscle, X, Y, and Z. It's a disservice to be, at a higher body fat. So for anyone that's 20, 22%, 24%, the first priority above anything else should just be, let's get below 15% body fat. Let's get the waistline in. And that's also going to improve your proportion. You can have size chest and shoulders, but the strongest sign of physical attraction, what's going to make you look good, is that waist to shoulder ratio. So if if you have an extra 3-4 inches, 5 inches on the waist, it's going to just hurt your physique immensely, and your testosterone levels. And yeah, that's a problem with going to a doctor, is that they're looking at your testosterone levels. They're using a chart that they use for 75-year-olds.
Yeah. So
if you're like a 30-year-old man, and they're telling you, 250 is okay, that's crazy.
Bro, I think that's negligent. I think that's medically, criminally negligent. Like, there is an epidemic of 50-year-old men in this country committing suicide. I promise you, if somebody had the balls, pun intended, had the balls to actually go do a study about the test levels of those men committing suicide, we would find a shocking correlation. I'll bet you $100,000 we would. But I'm sure nobody's going to do it, because then what are you doing? You're like encouraging these men to take testosterone, which to a certain extent, some people find politically incorrect to even have these guys taking this stuff. So I think that part is. Go ahead.
I don't think the mainstream media wants to solve for very low testosterone.
Yeah, but that's the other thing. Like, here's the other thing, Greg. So I'm 40. I'm 45. I'm turning 45 in 2 months. I don't think a lot of people want men, like, here I am at this point in my life with the most money and the most experience, and now you're going to give me my testosterone levels that I had when I was 19. That's threatening to some people, right? There's not like a big push to have us all taking tests again. And then, because that's not the thing. It's not because I want to build big muscles and look like Arnold Schwarzenegger. It's really hard to explain, because if you grow up and you've never had high testosterone, like most females, their free test doesn't even get above 100. I think 140 is like the high end right there. If mine is 900 and yours is 140, we're living completely different life experiences. And for my life experience, like, I joined the military, played outside linebacker in football, and there were points in my life where I was very physically aggressive, not violent, but very physically aggressive and extremely focused. That was another thing. When I got on TRT, I didn't care about going out. It was build my fucking business. That is all I cared about when I got on this stuff. And I can't express like the level of focus. I've heard about several people getting off of Adderall. Immediately start taking tests, they just get off Adderall. So it's not for everyone. A lot of you guys, your early 30s, your test is like 600-700. Don't get on TRT. No one's saying that. We're saying is that go get it checked, and if something happened, I know one guy. I'm not even joking. Guy took a ground ball to the nutsack, and he just doesn't produce testosterone anymore. That's what happened. I know another dude. This is a real story. Got kicked in the nuts by a fucking donkey, and his body doesn't produce testosterone anymore. So sometimes that kind of stuff happens, and there's physiological things behind it. But I just think there's just this massive misconception that, oh, I'm on TRT, therefore I'm taking steroids. That is not what's going on. And so that's why I really like More Plates, More Dates, Derek, because he's very knowledgeable on those things, and he talks about those things a lot. Here's another thing I want to talk about. You actually talked about this with Fresh and Fit podcast about building a brand. How initially you were a personal trainer, trading your time for money, and then kind of figured out, hey, there's a scalability to this. We have a lot, like obviously Nick Cosman's a great example, writing those dynamic sales letters. I had Cole Gordon on last week, who talks about like hardcore selling. You have a business, regardless, what the business type is. You have a very successful business. I'm curious, what did you learn as far as your initial brand building? What are some of the key steps that you invoked?
The strongest like marketing sort of framework that I ever had was just something that I just instinctively sort of thought of. It's like you want to create exactly what you want to see in the world. So if there's no point in starting a brand, starting a business, starting a YouTube channel if you're just trying to be like someone else, or someone else is just doing an amazing job and you're just going to try and do the same thing. That is absolutely garbage. You're going to waste your time and money. So you're better off just saving it. If you truly feel like, man, I wish someone offered this. I wish someone created this content. I wish someone taught this. I wish someone brought this angle to X, Y, and Z. That's when it's really easy to build a brand. And for me, I was like, man, like there's bodybuilding, there's training for sports, there's just pure fat loss. No one is teaching people. Like, I'm not trying to be a professional athlete here. I'm not going to kid myself and be like, oh, I'm training for football, whatever. I want to look like a movie star. I want to make it a lifestyle that I can actually enjoy it, go out, go on dates, eat X, Y, and Z, work on my business, and I want to get strong and powerful and just have that strength. No one's really hitting that angle and teaching that. And so I did exactly that. And then I started to kind of create the content that I would have wanted to see. And so that solves for almost everything. You are pretty much just creating what you want. You're marketing to exactly what you would want to see. And if you are completely honest and you do that well, and you actually really there's something that you want that no one else is doing, you're going to do just fine.
Beautiful. And then the early days, you mentioned before, you thought that you had gotten into YouTube too late, but it was like 2013, and you were able to grow pretty quickly. What was the things that you noticed about YouTube algorithm back then? Because it's changed a lot. And then as opposed to now, and same thing on Instagram. Have you noticed any differences as far as your ability to grow your brand?
Yeah. So there's always even when I started doing videos years and years ago, 2011 or 2012, whatever, everyone's still like, oh, YouTube's saturated. Yeah, it's like, everyone's like, yeah, it's saturated. I was like, man, I wish I started posting this stuff 2009, 2008. And so everything is ultimately always saturated. Unless you're there in the very, very beginning, it's going to feel relatively saturated. What I'm noticing now with YouTube is that the algorithms are getting very, very smart. So there was a point where if you just early had the right title, had a good thumbnail, you could have built an audience. Now, it doesn't matter if you're starting from scratch right now. It's just, are you creating the best content?
Yeah.
If you create awesome content, the algorithm will find it, and you're doing it consistently, and it will promote you. So there are guys that are blowing up. Back then you used to think oh, you have to be really early to get a high level of attention. Now it's just that there are people that are blowing up out of nowhere just because their content is good. There's no it's not like some insane, crazy strategy or team that they have. It's just if you create awesome content that people freaking love, the algorithm will find you. And it might not find you day one. It might not find you after a couple months. But sure enough, if you're consistent, you keep hammering it and you're getting the feedback. I love the best feedback to get if you're doing content and you might have 100 subscribers, you might have 1,000, is man, you should have 1 million subscribers. Why don't you have 1 million? Why don't you have 100,000?
Yeah.
If that's the content you're getting, guaranteed you will get there. But again, people kind of are looking for a lot of different fancy stuff, but it's just man, just create the best possible stuff, put more energy into it. I mean, right now, so there was a time when people didn't take YouTube very seriously. The idea of making money from YouTube was weird. People didn't understand that. Now people know that there is a lot of money to make on YouTube, whether it's through ads or through your own brand deals or your own products. And so people are putting more energy, more effort into YouTube, into videos. So, you know, you just have to, again, think about what do I want to see that no one's posting? It helps to be polarizing. It helps to, like, you know, create a reaction, whether it's positive or negative. All of that stuff helps. Like, you know, you are seeing people that are just a bit more polarizing, popping off. But, you know, you have to, like, you know, the other thing is, like, you know, these days it's like you got to be in, you got to capture attention every day. Like, if you're putting up a video every couple of weeks, it's not enough. Like, people are just seeing so much. There's so much content. People aren't watching movies anymore. They're not looking forward to Ryan Gosling's next movie. They're looking forward to watching YouTube videos and TikToks and Instagram. And there's just so much. So you have to be producing at a high level.
Yeah, that's definitely true. That was the first couple comments that were like, how do you not have 1 million followers? I get that all the time in my comments. And I was like, I thought it was interesting. And I thought that was like probably the best compliment. But here's the other thing I noticed when you said about it being smart. I remember I did an interview with Paris Hilton. And when I did it, the algorithm was like, nah, you don't really have Paris Hilton. Like, it would be in the cover photo. And it was almost like, it was this weird realization where the algorithm was like, oh, holy shit, you really do have Paris Hilton in this video. And then it was like days later, and then the video took off. I've had to take it down since, because I was working for a different company. Same thing happened with the Bulgarian interview. Like, the first 18 hours that had 500 views, and I could tell YouTube was like confused. They were like, is this really real? Is this, they couldn't tell. And then something happened like about a day and a half later, and then it just shot up to 100,000 views like that. And it is one of these things where it's like, I think it would be one of these things, like, for instance, if you're just a YouTuber who usually gets 500 views a video, and then all of a sudden you have President Obama on there, YouTube's confused for a second. They don't quite know. It's like, is this legit? And then when they figure it out, it kind of takes off. So that part was really interesting. And it's been something really interesting for me where it's like, I feel like in the beginning, because I had so many big guests on, YouTube didn't know how to deal with my content initially, because I only had 20,000 subscribers. And then after a while, it started to realize, oh, this is legit, and he's coming out with it every week. And then when I started throwing the shorts in there, the shorts help a lot too. The YouTube shorts are another like really great way to make content. So here's another thing I want to ask you about. I also saw you on Pillow Talk. I have a couple of friends in Canada who've been on that show before. And so here's the thing, man. What is it like? You're running a business, right? You got your training. You show a lot of lifestyle videos. You're out to dinner, pretty girls, the cars, all that kind of stuff. What is it? What is the requirements you think? Is it difficult to date Greg O'Gallagher? Is it easy to date Greg O'Gallagher? Are you looking for monogamy? What is that whole thing like, being a famous YouTuber like this?
Yeah. I've kind of been in this sort of position for a long time, so it's not fresh. It just kind of feels very normal. It can be very tough for women to, like, it can be tough for women to date me and just see the amount of, like, attention and like, just knowing that I'm going, like, it can be tough. But, you know, I've relaxed into it quite swimmingly, you know?
Yeah, for sure. You're not complaining, right?
No, it's I mean, I guess the challenge is, like, you know, it's when you have a lot of options and you know, freedom and possibility, you know, it definitely, like, makes it harder to, like, you know, want to date one person.
Yeah, that was my next question. So, like, again, I host the biggest bikini competition in the world. I'm the Swimsuit USA world, host, and several other things, Babes in Toyland. So for me, I mean, for me, it's very difficult to want to settle down to a traditional monogamous relationship, even when I meet someone incredible, because it's one of these situations where I'm going to go to work and I'm going to be with like 200 girls. Are you okay with that? And the girl's like, yeah, I'm okay with that. And then guess what, Greg? They're not okay with that. Something goes wrong. It ends up being, you've had
you know what? 100%. They can act so chill in the very beginning for the first, you know, maybe month or two. But then, you know, you start to realize, actually, like, you know, even if they pretend to be chill, like, it does affect them. And so that's definitely tough. You know, if you're around a lot of women, you're living this also, like, I'm living this lifestyle where, like, you know, my priority is my business and my brand. And part of that requires getting attention and doing X, Y, and Z. And so, you know, so like you need to find a part. Yeah. You know, it's good to have a partner that completely understands that's on board with that. But that's easier said than done. I've been in that position a few times where I was dating a girl and, like, they were, you know, very chill with it in the beginning, but, like, not quite. But, you know, I think like, you know, I think ultimately, like, yeah, it can be, you know, it is definitely a challenge.
Yeah, it's definitely the only solution that it's even a pseudo solution that I found is I date women who date women, and that tends to like now I have the opposite effect. Now they're super excited to come to the bikini competition with me or Paradise Challenge or whatever. That's the only thing that I found that work. And I live in a place, Las Vegas, where there's a ton of women that are like a ton of women here that are like that. So it just that part has made it a little easier for me, so I can be like completely and totally honest, because I don't care what a woman tells you. A heterosexual woman, if you have been with a lot of very beautiful women, if she asks you, have you been with her? You're going to say yes, and she's going to say she's fine with it. She's not fucking fine with it. I don't care what she says. If you're dealing with a woman who's like really attracted to women and you say yes, she's like, that's awesome. There's nothing wrong with that. So that's the only like pseudo solution that I found to this issue, is to do something like that, where you have like this thing, this extra component that's in common, right? Otherwise, traditional monogamy is very difficult in a place like, I mean, obviously you're 3 orders of magnitude more famous than I am, but like for someone like us, it's a very difficult thing to do. Now I ask all my guests this because, you know, again, going back to Dr. Buss, do you think that monogamy is a natural state for human beings?
Yeah, that's a good question. You know, I've talked to someone that actually is pretty close with Dr. David Buss, and they kind of said that like men kind of fall into 4 different quadrants, where there's like 25% of men can absolutely do monogamy. 25% kind of like are more geared towards monogamy, and 25% are really not, and then just 25% absolutely can't. So, I mean, I think that there are definitely some men out there that can.
Greg,
you know, I think if like every guy was completely honest with themselves, they probably would like the idea of getting, you know, of having multiple.
Yeah, that is the problem, right? It's like I sometimes I get this vibe whenever I go back home for Thanksgiving or Christmas that like it is a function of my immaturity, or that I'm a bad guy because I haven't chosen to settle down. And I'm like, I don't understand that at all. Or like this belief that, well, I'm going to turn 50 and be alone, and therefore I'm going to feel lonely. I have friends of mine who are 60 and they're not lonely. So I don't really understand. Like, I don't know. I just, we could get it. Go ahead.
Yeah. You know what? I think it's like, this is like a different like question and topic if you're talking to men of very high status that have a ton of options.
Yes.
It's like this is kind of like a conversation that definitely comes up in those realms. But yeah, it is definitely something hard to wrap your head around, of like, I'm just going to be with XYZ with this one person for the next, you know, forget about 20 years, just even like 5 years, you know?
Yeah.
It's definitely, you know, it's definitely
difficult.
Something that's very hard to wrap the head around.
Yeah, I just found like ultimate honesty up front, and then you kind of can filter out what's going to work and what's not going to work, and that's been definitely the biggest game changer for me. Because, Greg, here's the craziest thing, right? You'll go up to a girl and you just straight up be like, "Hey, listen, I just want to let you know traditional monogamy is not what I'm looking for right now. I think you're amazing," and then you expect them to just get up and walk away, and they just don't. And here's the other thing: you said something else, bro. You said you are more focused on your business. And the thing is, to a lot of men, they're like, oh, he's more focused on his business, he's going to have trouble with women, not realizing, no, it's the opposite. You are more focused on your business. You're not more focused on this gorgeous woman who just came into your life, and therefore she is starving for your attention, validation, whatever. And that's another thing I found, is like the more I just focus on my business, the more women want to come into my life because they can see a path or purpose that I have, and which goes back to evolution, right? It's access to scarce resources, or men who have the probability to gain resources. Those are the ones that are the most attractive. So here you've built a business basically where you're showing success, and on top of that, a physique that is masculine with, you know, the V-shaped torso and all this kind of stuff. And then as a result, of building that business, you become more attractive to a certain type of woman or most women. And then in this type of situation, you're not even trying, you're not even trying to do it for that purpose. And yet that's exactly what ends up working out for you. And now you have more options because of it. And now it becomes more confusing on whether or not you want monogamy.
Yeah. You know what? I think it's actually one of the most attractive things. The woman really wants you to be ambitious. She gets turned on. And she gets so zoned in on you when you're highly ambitious. You're crushing the gym. You're working on your goals. And if she says, you know, fucking baby, you work too hard. Take it easy. Don't worry. We have enough money. That's fine. I don't care about getting another Lamborghini. If you listen to her, she'll lose attraction, respect for you. She wants you to go, like, absolutely be a good partner, like show up X, Y, and Z. But she wants to feel like you are going out to conquer. Like, absolutely. Like sometimes, like that's like what women will tell me. Like one of the most attractive things I find about you is like your ambition. Like it's hard to find men that are just highly ambitious. And I think that is like, yeah, that is like, even if your girl's telling you, hey, slow down. You worked hard in the gym. Take a break. Take it easy. This and that. Don't. Keep going. Go hard, spend time with your girl, but just have your eyes on the prize, because they do not want you to be that malleable person that like gives it, okay, yeah, we'll just watch a movie. I'll do this work later. They might think they want it for a moment. And then once you give in fully, they're losing attraction.
All right. So since we're going here, I'm going to say something a little bit controversial here. Okay. I want you to think about this, those of you who are watching this. So think about whoever your dream girl is. We'll use a friend of mine, Lindsay Palas. Okay. Do you think that Lindsay Palas or whoever, well, you could say Emily Sears or whoever, Caitlin Runk, whoever, Kylie Myers, whatever. If you think, like, if you were dating one of these girls, or a girl of similar level of attractiveness, do you think that evolution would create a system in their brain where they're giving you the steps in order to make them sexually attracted to you? This may be confusing for some people to understand. If there was a set of steps that you could do to just sleep with this girl who's a perfect 10, then every guy would sleep with her. But those set of steps are not going to be apparent. So her giving you advice on how to sleep with her is it's counterintuitive. It doesn't fit along with evolution. So what's she going to do instead? Stay at home. Let's watch Netflix. Let's order a pizza. You're working too hard. And I personally believe, and again, this is the part that's going to be controversial, that women from an evolutionary standpoint, some women have these internal programming to see whether or not you're going to crack. To see whether or not you are going to lose the ambition for her, to see whether or not you're going to throw it all away just to be with her. And again, I've said this before, and I've gotten a lot of trouble for this, but I'll stand by it. Women tell men their advice when it comes to women, just be yourself. And I think they give that advice so they can tell who the beta males are quicker. That's my personal opinion. I know a lot of people don't like that idea, but I personally think that's what it is. It's very difficult. Women want to be able to sift through, this guy is an overachiever, alpha, this guy is a beta, and then if he pretends like he's an alpha, then it confuses me with his fake Patek watch and his rented Lambo. I don't know who's who, and so I'm confused. So I need to tell all of them to just be themselves, and that way I can quickly tell these are the alphas and these are the betas. Anyway, sorry. If you don't, go ahead and you can write me ugly messages in the comments if you disagree, but that's what I believe, and that's what evolution points to.
Yeah, like there's some women that can be extremely like self-aware and logical and like, this is what I respond to. But most women, what they say they want, what they respond to are two completely different things.
Isn't it incredible, bro? Like how many girls tell me that they're sapiosexual and they're dating like an illiterate male stripper. Like bro, it's so crazy to me how frequently I see this. And the other thing that I found, this is another great one, is like the Fairytale. This is another one where you were talking about the 4 quadrants of men. There's a sort of an equilibrium with a lot of very high status men. And the equilibrium works like this. Hey, I'm a man. You and me are in a relationship. That means you don't have sex with any other men and I'm not going to have any sex with any other women. Then when you go to work, I'm going to go have sex with other women. That's generally the way it works. Like and you hear women come back crying to me, oh, my boyfriend's a narcissist. No, he's not a narcissist. He was just lying so he could fuck other women. It's just generally how it does. I'm not saying it's a good idea. The thing is, when I'm bluntly honest with women, I have a lot of these women go and like, no, Michael, you're not selling me the fairy tale that Disney told me I was supposed to fucking get, that I deserve. You're not selling me that fairy tale. You're telling me the truth about you don't want to be monogamous. Therefore, I'm going to go over here with Claude, who's in Thunder from Down Under, and or Chippendales, and I'm going to date him because he told me I'm going to be his girlfriend. And then, of course, they come back a month, 2 months, 3 months later crying, Michael, I can't believe my male stripper boyfriend was cheating on me. Oh my God, I'm so shocked. And I'm like, bro, like, and I call my female friends, bro, I told you the fucking truth. I told you the truth. Did you want to hear the truth, or did you want to believe in this fairy tale? You chose the fairy tale because the fairy tale feels better, and now you're sitting there upset, and now you're like, you think all men are trash, and you start posting memes from the gains about how all men are trash. And so that's the thing. You and I can't change human evolution, but we can be honest. And I think that's probably the main thing. That's why I asked you the question about monogamy, because 20, 30 years ago, if you had asked the question, is monogamy the natural state of human beings? And you said no, you would come off as like some sort of like crazy person. But no, monogamy was something that was invented over the last 11,000 years. Most Homo sapien males were probably pair bonded for 3 years at most. There's 5,000 species of mammals on this planet. 3% of them pair bond at all, at all. Most of them don't pair bond at all. They're literally just fuck whoever's in front of you. And when you explain that to people, they get really upset. Now, here's the other thing. I had Jay Cutler on, right? Jay Cutler at one point, he's like squatting, some massive amount of weight, like 700-800 pounds. He just huge amount of weight. And I would ask my female friends, I was like, you see Jay Cutler when he's competing, is that a natural state for human beings to be that big and that strong? And they'd be like, no. And I'm like, that's what monogamy is. It's a thing where we have to both work at it. And if one of us stops working at it, it doesn't work anymore. But it doesn't mean it's our natural state. Nobody has a soulmate, and it's not just something that you deserve because you're a fairy princess like your mom told you. It's something you have to work at. So that's where I think people just get completely led astray. And so interesting, because the thing is, you're right. It's a completely different discussion if we're two cashiers at Walmart and we're having this discussion when we're like, who is going to sleep with us, right? But if you're a high status man and you're making 6 figures a month and you're in shape, then it's a completely different situation that you're dealing with. I mean, it's a 180 degrees. It's almost like you're a different species when you're in that position.
Yeah, and what's interesting, is that for a lot of human evolution, it was a small subset of men that were actually having offspring.
Yes,
having offspring with multiple women, and actually a pretty sad, like it's kind of depressing, but a lot of men never spread their genes.
Yes. Yeah, but people don't understand this. The majority of men ever born died a virgin. Uh-oh. Like a lot of women don't like to hear that, because here's the problem. Whenever I tell this to women, and when I'm like, so I don't know if you've seen the surveys, there's one in the Washington Post. Feel free to pause the video and look it up for yourself if you don't believe me. 26% of men report having 0 sexual partners in the last year. 26% of men. 28% of men report having 0 sexual partners, period, since high school. Period. At all. To the age of 30, having none. Women look at those and they're like, that's a lie. That can't be true. Then you take them to McDonald's and you're like, do you see the cashier? Like, tell me who's fucking him. And they're like, oh, okay, yeah. I was like, that's what the majority of the male existence is like. It's the Walmart cashier. It's the guy who's doing construction at Home Depot. Like, that's the majority of their existence. They're not going, like, you're on stage at Access surrounded by multimillionaires and male models and Logan Paul, and you think that's what the rest of the world is like, and it's not. And then when I have a ton of female friends, and they're always like, it's 7 girls fighting over the same one guy. And they think every guy's like that. And I'm like, no, that's not what every guy's like. That's who you've chosen. And the other men, the other 90% of men, you don't even see them. I don't know if it was, I don't know if you've seen this. 10% of men on Tinder are getting 60% of the right swipes. 43% of women on Tinder are getting 63% of the right swipe. So if you were to look at it in a normal distribution, this very small fat tail is getting the majority, whereas with women as men, we find more women as a percentage to be attractive, whereas women in general, when we bifurcate between attractive and unattractive males, there's a small percentage of males that are attractive. It's really crazy, and I think social media has only exacerbated this. Yeah,
that's actually a very accurate point. Yeah, to women, most men are invisible.
Yeah,
and they just see the guys that are somewhat desirable. And then a big majority of the men that just they don't even realize they don't realize. So no, I've seen women be like, there's no way, no way.
Yeah, there's no way that this guy has slept with anyone. They think every dude is just a whore who sleeps like 300 women a year or whatever. And then I introduce him to some guy, and I'm like, dude, and sometimes these guys are like accomplished pilots, doctors, whatever, and then they just have no luck whatsoever. Or they go on a date with a guy who's a divorcee, and he's like like really sweet, but he's like stumbling over his words. He's got a little bit of a dad bod, and he's like not very charismatic, but he would worship the ground she walks on, and she's like, he's boring, and she goes and fucks her ex. And it's like, And you have these female friends, and you're just like watching them do this to themselves over and over again. And it's like, you're right. It's like what you said before. There's this small number of men who are sleeping with all these women. From my personal experience, because my guy friends, we do mention this every once in a while. I never try to ask specifics. I have a rule in my program, Men of Action program. We don't talk about who we're sleeping with specifically, just because if a woman brags about sleeping with me, it doesn't hurt me. My boss does not care. If you came to the guy who owns Sticky Paws, he's not going to care, right? But if you go and brag about sleeping with a woman, that might hurt her reputation. So we have a rule: we don't brag about who we sleep with. But I do talk to guys, and they say, well, I've been with this many women. And what I've found is a small number of dudes who are like 3, 4, 5, 600, and then a large number of dudes that are like 6. That's what I've seen. Yeah. It's not like a gradual increase. It just feels like there's this group of guys who kind of have it together, 6-pack abs, the nice car, and the nice job, and then a massive group of guys that have been with like 2 women in their entire life. And that's the way I see it. Whereas with women, I do see more of like an even distribution. It's very interesting when you see that.
Yeah, you see this in many different areas. If you look at, even IQ distribution between men and women, they're more, on the like there's more genius men, but also more like really dumb men.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure as well with like income and stuff, you see this, but yeah, that's why, it's freaking tough. But, I definitely believe that every single man, watching this podcast, you can build yourself up to have a lot of option. You can get strong, build a great body, learn how to be more charismatic, learn how to, actually deal with women and be attractive, and not be a floor mat. You can, learn how to, make more money, build your income, X, Y, and Z. So I actually, when I started out, like I was the kid in, high school that was freaking shy.
Yeah. Really
shy. That didn't, didn't feel like women came easy to me. And then I, developed the confidence and just put myself out there and stuff. But like, there was a time when like, I was definitely like, it wasn't until I was 21 where I was really like, started to become more confident with women.
Yeah. That is terrific, man. This has been really terrific talking to you about all this stuff. I'm glad that we got to discuss it. I knew, I heard you have some really interesting conversations with this, and it is one of these things where, like, when you look at the human motivation through the lens of evolution, then things make a lot more sense, right? So here's kind of the bifurcation. A lot of people who are watching this, or a lot of people who complain, like a lot of the haters that you probably have on your YouTube and or I have on my YouTube. Here's the difference, right? If we say that 10% of men are getting all this action and attention, you have one of 2 options. One, you can try to change it, right? You can say that it's unfair and you can complain about it. And there's great places to do that. It's called MGTOW, incels, red pill shit. Like that's a great place you can just go join an incel place and you can complain about it. Or 2, you can become part of the 10%. And that's KinoBody, that's Men of Action program. That's what those things are. For me, I made my decision. I don't have to be convinced anymore. I'm going to become part of the 10%. I don't care who I have to fuck up or run over to get there. I'm going to become part of that 10% that gets chose. I'm not going to complain about it, because here's the reason why you can't complain about it, ultimately. Because when you go throughout the evolution of our species, the 300,000 years of Homo sapien evolution and the 3 million years of hominid evolution, it's always been a small group of dudes that have options with a great number of women. This is not something that just happened in 2022. And so since it's always been like that, we're not going to change it. So I would rather if you can't beat them, join them. That's the way I look at it.
Yeah. I mean, I would fricking, life would fricking, suck a ton if you just give up. You're like, and just like, the thing is, you cannot change something. You cannot improve at something while like complaining and resisting. So long that you're complaining, this is unfair, boom, boom, boom. Like all those forms are total like garbage. If you're not there to improve your life and get better results, then what are you doing? You're wasting your life away. Yeah. Okay. Like the chance of being born is 1 out of some trillion. Okay. You're gonna be born to give up, complain about the way it is, hit the gym, get strong, get leaner, like even just getting in awesome shape and dressing well.
Yes.
Can like raise your points up massively. Learning how to communicate, freaking, find one friend that like, that does well and spend a bit more time with them, do the mentorship programs, get motivated, set goals. Like there's nothing wrong with the women. Okay. That's a good thing. you want to take responsibility and you want to improve yourself and you want to get to a point where, you know, you're freaking happy with your life, you're happy with your results. And again, it might not be sleeping with 300 women, but, you know, finding a quality girl that you're very attracted to, attracting her, having a good relationship. You can do that if you do these steps, but you have to become the person, you know, if you want to attract, you know, a 10 or an 8 or whatever, you want to track that, you got to become that.
Yeah.
And again, for men, it's hard, but if you do the work, you will get the result.
Yes. Beautiful. I think gratitude is another thing that I think a lot of people miss. A lot of people don't realize over 50% of the Earth's population before the year 1850 died before the age of 5. Like, that's mind blowing when you think about it. Like, most people had no shot. You had families where they'd have 13, 14 kids and half of them would die. It was crazy. Like when you think about that, then there's no, like, 60 million people die from the Spanish flu in 1919. We don't have antibiotics until 1930. You think your life is hard. Your life is not that fucking hard. And here's where it goes back to when you talk about people wasting their time. Think about if you did give up. Think about what you got. You got endless video games. You got endless things to watch on TV. You have endless pornography. How hard is it for me to get sugar, salt, and fat today at McDonald's compared to my ancestors 50,000 years ago? I could literally eat fat till I die. I could literally eat processed sugar for $100 worth of processed sugar till I fucking die. So the thing is, even when you give up, it's so much easier now to give up that for a man to get into 6th gear and then go to the gym every day, build a 7-figure scalable business, build the brand, learn to become charismatic, fix the way he dresses, and fix his social media. It's so much harder to get out of that muck now because the muck is so easy and comfortable. It's so easy to just look at things on your cell phone and to never react. And it's so much easier to talk shit on my YouTube or yours than to actually do something to change your life or build something. That I think that's another reason why it's so difficult. And because of that, I think it only gets harder. Like, I think any dude right now in 2022, unless you, again, I said before, if you won an Academy Award, you play point guard for the Lakers, or you have $1 billion, you don't need social media. For the rest of you guys, I got news for you. You're going to have to get in the gym. You're going to have to get on social media. You're going to have to play the game just like everybody else, or else you're going to have a really, really difficult time, man. Dude, bro, I'm so happy you came out here. Hey, listen, hopefully we can have you come out to Vegas, come on here again, and let's do I'm at Roundtable. I got a bunch of female fitness models that would probably love to come on here while you're on here. We can have a discussion about this. I think people would find it really, really compelling. I love the fact that you dealt, this is another thing, bro. I really, really appreciated the fact that you let More Plates, More Dates do your blood work. I know you probably have heard this before, but like, and I never thought you were on steroids. But the thing is, like, you went at it, bro. And I thought that was a really great way of showing irrefutable visual evidence, because you know that could have gone a million different ways, but you knew you weren't taking that stuff. And for you to do it, I thought that was a really, really great deal. And then the other thing is, I think it's terrific that you and Greg Doucette, after, you know, going at each other a little bit, right? He did use the word idiot a couple times. Like, he went a little bit out of pocket in some of his videos. And for you to like squash that and to make that video with it, which is great content, I think that's another great way for people to see this is how you build a brand. I think that was really great examples that you said.
I appreciate that, man. It was awesome coming on here. I loved, you know, getting into the weeds here and these different topics and finishing up talking about, women and dating and that whole place. So, dude, it's been awesome.
All right, man. Let me know when you come in town, and definitely I'll take care of you here in Las Vegas. Awesome, man. For those of you, how can we check you out? How can we find you, Greg?
Yeah, so I'm very active on Instagram at Greg O'Gallagher, and my website is KinoBody.com. I have all my products, my programs, and my supplements there. So those are the two places to check out. And of course, I'm posting actually quite a bit now on YouTube. So my YouTube is KinoBody as well. KinoBody on YouTube.
Hey,
those are my.
You have a pre-workout, right? You have like a new pre-workout? I saw Greg.
Yeah,
Greg Doucette was talking about it.
Yeah, Kino Octane. It's a all natural pre-workout. And it gives you smooth energy, has the L-theanine, so you have very calm energy, awesome muscle pumps. I crafted that because I wanted a pre-workout that was a little bit more not this crazy massive like caffeine spike. And so people we have a bit of a cult following for the Kino Octane.
Yeah, bro. I'm a pre-workout what is it, sommelier? I guess that's what you call it. I try to have 6 or 7 different ones, and I try them. I'm very, very big on this because here's the thing.
I'll send you some of my Overdrive, the Octane Overdrive. That's
Please.
like our, yeah.
Please, I would love that. Yeah, one of the things that I found is that like it's it's kind of a trick. You know that when you take some pre-workout, your face starts to itch or stuff like that. Just some crazy shit happens. What I found is that it's not easy to go to the gym all the time, but it is easy to drink pre-workout. And once you take it, it's almost like a timer goes off sometimes. Sometimes I have to go just to get this fucking feeling out of me. You know what I'm saying? Like this, like, and that's why, like, but it keeps me disciplined. It keeps me going to the gym. So yeah, I mean, I know, like, dude. And the other thing is, when you're in the military, bro, we are hammering those things. You have no idea. When we do 11-hour missions over Afghanistan, bro, you are drinking whatever to stay awake. So that's, you know, I've been trying to wean myself off caffeine and some of those stimulants over time. But yeah, dude, I'm a big fan of any guy. Like Jay Cutler's pre-workout is fantastic. I can't wait to try out yours. So yeah, that's awesome, man. So guys, make sure you check out KinoBody. Can't thank you enough, bro. You are one of the main people have been asking me to have on this podcast. Make sure you check out all of his interviews, the ones that he does on his channel and other channels. It's really, really fascinating stuff. You go into in depth about why fasting works. I got to be honest with you, I was skeptical at first. The way you explained it made it make a lot of sense to me. For the rest of you guys, we have some incredible guests coming on for the rest of the summer. I have some really, really big surprises for you. I hope you guys really appreciate it. I love the comments that you guys are giving. And by the way, if any of you guys want to give me feedback or criticism, I don't mind that. What I do mind is that, like, if I disagree with you about some subject like Ukraine, don't talk about my mom. Or you can talk about my mom, and it just helps the algorithm, and I appreciate that because the video gets more views. Shout out to all the flat earthers out there. Thank you guys for coming on. Thank you, Greg, once again, and we will see you all next week.
Awesome.
Hey, Greg,